want to thank everyone for always creating time to be part of this training session. I believe from the first day we started, a number of us have been able to get an opportunity to learn one or two things as we move along. Key to these messages that we are sharing every time is to enable each and every media personality to have information about NCDs. And when it comes to putting together content um, to be delivered in the different platforms that we are representing, either radio or TV or print, um, it's information that is well informed to the public. I want to continue to encourage you also to check into our social media handles, NCDAC. Last time I had an opportunity to share those social media handles because we get the conversation going on those social media handles, and we'll always appreciate when you can, share or have an opportunity to follow that conversation that is out there. A good number of us have also been calling, requesting for interviews with the presenters and the facilitators of different sessions, and we've always had an opportunity to share that information. And I'm glad I've been sent a few features on print, others on features for television and radio for the stories around NCDs that have been covered. So we continue to encourage that even as we proceed. So I don't want to take much of your time. It's 10 minutes past 10, and I want to hand it over to Dr. Peter Mokaya to take it over from there.
Thank you, Fred. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I am a human being. I'm not a robot. So I wanted to switch on my video so that people could see me for a moment. But it looks like it's not opening. So I will probably do that towards the end. I'm Jamboni Nyote. I can see that we are about 43 and the number is rising. I just want to say to the members of the Fourth Estate, that's what media is. Asante sana for making time to join us in this ongoing series of interactions, of sharing, because we believe that you are an invaluable partner in sending out, creating awareness with regard to non-communicable diseases, which are ravaging us. And as you probably know right now, they are a critical risk group within the context of COVID-19. So having said that, I want to appreciate your being here, and I can see more people joining. We're now 44. Harrison, can you go back to the very first slide, kindly? Yeah, there. So the very first thing, why should you listen to me? I am not just a medical doctor, I'm a public health physician. I have studied epidemiology, I've studied nutrition, and I've been in the game for the last 35 years. Locally, University of Nairobi, of course, some of you need to know that I went to Alliance High School, so I'm a clever man. I went to Johns Hopkins, I've been to Harvard. So I know a thing or two that I think we can share, good people of the media. I get to talk a lot, but today I will try and be as brief as I can. Food, nutrition, food is medicine. A guy known as Hippocrates in 431 BC very famously said, let food be your medicine. Not like medicine, but actually be your medicine. So Harrison, kindly, again, back to the first slide. If the media members can see, what you're seeing there is actually the original medicine. You can see turmeric, you can see avocado, glutathione, you can see some spices, some vegetables, you can see a grapefruit, you can see ginger, you can see broccoli, you can see some pepper, a few other different grains. And I think there's oatmeal towards the front. It's not very African, but it's increasingly accessible. Now, that's who I am. Other than being the director of Organic Consumers Alliance, I am also a member of the NCD Alliance Board of Kenya and West Africa. And as we continue to discuss and deliberate, trust me, you are listening to a voice of authority in this space, and I'm willing to take questions at the very end. I'll try and do 30 minutes for the slides and allow you 40 to 45 minutes of question and answer as broadly as you wish, because we believe we cannot change this dimension of reducing NCDs without your participation, your involvement, and your engagement with the policymakers, and of course, the populace, the population, in the business of educating, informing, and inspiring. So second slide, kindly, Harrison. Yeah, so why nutrition? Good people, I just want to let you know that, quite frankly, this is the secret that if we addressed properly, we will not only address non-communicable diseases, but we'll also address infectious communicable diseases, generally improve the health not just of humanity, but also improve the health of the environment if we do nutrition right. Good nutrition, of course, will result in good health, and bad nutrition will result in bad health. I don't know how to put this in a stronger language, but if you ask me from my perspective over the last 30, 35 years, good nutrition is the core, not just of supporting good health, but the core of actually improving health to the extent that some of the non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, and blood pressure can actually be reversed, aka cured, with the right nutrition. And of course, emerging scientific evidence is amazingly and dumbfoundedly proving this as we go along, and we discuss this. So third slide, I don't need to belabor that. Third slide, next slide, Harrison. Yeah, so we've dealt with why nutrition is important. It supports the immune system. It's good for our overall development. And towards the end, you'll see how good nutrition either supports a strong immune system or actually weakens the immune system when we discuss the matter of COVID-19, which I am sure all of you or most of you are ready to ask many questions about. And I can tell you I'm ready to address those questions to the best of my knowledge. Third slide, next slide, Harrison. Yeah, food is medicine. People say food is like medicine, but I can tell you, good people, for a fact, it is not like medicine, but good, healthy, wholesome, nutrient-rich food is actually medicine. How do I know this? The father of modern medicine, Hippocrates, in 431 BC, I repeat again, said, let food be your medicine. And there has never been a time, good people, than now, with the COVID era, that people have realized that as much as we are trying to hide around the corners, that there is a very clear correlation of better outcomes when people are consuming the right foods, and certain particular foods have been shown to improve the immune system, to boost the immune system, and reduce the effects of COVID-19. What a better example, what an unprecedented time for nutrition to take center stage in terms of addressing the continuum of care from prevention, treatment, rehabilitation of non-communicable diseases. So basically that slide is passing on that message that as you can see the statistics, 1 in 3 are related to that. It's a big statistic. It's probably 1 in 2, but what we have right now from research is that 1 in 3, and that's a huge impact right there. And we're not talking as much as we should about the impact or the effects or the influence of nutrition in reducing NCDs. Of course, these include diabetes, which we now know and have evidence that it can be reversed, managed with good nutrition, heart diseases, strokes. You don't have to use statins. You can actually reverse your weight, your cholesterol levels to normal levels by adhering to strict diets. You can reduce obesity, which is a precursor to heart disease, diabetes, and all this, by having the right nutrition. And they did some cancers, high fiber diets, and so on. But there are other aspects of whether that food is safe, whether there are agrochemicals and other toxins in the food. We'll discuss that in the next slide. So, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, good nutrition, reducing blood pressure. Those are details. Next slide, kindly, Harrison. Yes. So, select a diet that is high in fiber. Fiber is just a component. There are nutrients also, trace elements, minerals. Is a combination of different nutrients coming together to create what we call food. Because you don't eat nutrients, you eat food. And within the food, there are nutrients, and they may also be negative impurities or toxins that may reduce the accessibility of, of, uh, of the nutrients from the food. So clearly, evidence from the World Food Security and Nutrition Report 2019, of course, is another one that's come out in 2020, shows an increasing obesity correlation with NCDs. That's really, really, really the biggest form of malnutrition right now that is an existential threat to humanity, is the exploding rate of obesity, which correlates directly with the wrong foods that we're eating, highly processed, full of toxins, and basically we are eating poisons. Next slide. Yeah, now, this slide, good people, says very many things. But if you want to take home one message, you probably want to take that message of that fat-looking adult at the very end who looks balloonish, adult overweight and obesity, basal metabolic index, BMI, greater than 25. Look at that number. The first one is 159 million. The second one, child wasting, is 50 million. The third one is 41 million. But look at the last one, and that's really the mother or the precursor of all NCDs. What is causing overweight and obesity, from which all NCDs, all without exception, emanate? I think you want to hold on to that, and we can open that can of worms and discuss further. That there is right now 2 billion members of the global population who are obese. Just to give you an outline of how this has been scary, about 10 years ago, this number was less than 1 billion. About 20 years ago, and that time I was still practicing medicine, this number was about 500 million. About 30 years further earlier, when I was just finishing medical school, that number was only about 150 million. Keep those statistics. So within the lifetime of my having finished medical school in 1984 and today, there has been almost a 4 times increase in the number of people who are overweight and who are obese. And as I said earlier on, good people, this is the precursor to almost all NCDs. So what is it in the food within which the domain of nutrition, which is in the agriculture and environment, is causing this explosion of ill health manifested as increase in weight? Next slide. Yeah, so the medics, you're members of the fourth estate. You may not know, but you need to know that there is good nutrition begins in the soil. If the soil is healthy, then the microorganisms are able to produce, capture, gather nutrients, feed the root system of the plants. The plants eat the good nutrition. We eat the good plants, and the animals, and our health is correlated directly with health of soil. And as we'll discuss further, there is an elephant in the house. Yeah, synthetic fertilizers, synthetic agrochemicals, including glyphosate-based herbicides, also known as Roundup-based herbicides, the weed killer. That is a major, and I'd like for us to discuss this a bit further, maybe in a different session, but we are polluting the soil. We are chelating or removing key minerals, creating deficiency in the soil, creating deficiency in the plants of these useful nutrients, and as a result, creating these key mineral deficiencies, resulting in metabolic imbalance and many of the processes that result in what we call non-communicable diseases. And of course, we'll discuss more about this particular one, the elephant in the house, glyphosate, commonly known as Roundup weed killer, as a major threat, a food safety threat through soil contamination, which many of you may not know, but glyphosate, aka Roundup, is also a broad spectrum antibiotic, not only in animals, but the residues of almost all the food we are eating in Kenya has residues of glyphosate, which is an antibiotic causing antibiotic resistance, and listen to this, messing your immune system big time. So is that idea there as we proceed to the next slide. Yeah, I think we're still there. Harrison, can you kindly move to the next slide? Yeah, because we've dealt with the issue of the link between soil health and the gut health. Gut is your GIT, the stomach, the food you eat. There's a correlation between the health of the soil and the health of our stomachs, our guts. Next slide, kindly. Yeah, so what is the evidence? Good people, we don't have to use the US as an example. All good things, all bad things seem to start from that big, great country. But as you can see, since the introduction of transgenic foods, aka GMOs, were introduced in 1996 in the US, the use of pesticides, especially glyphosate, has increased by 15-fold. That's how much we've contaminated. In this country, for the last 10 years or so, we increased the use of these agrochemicals by at least 3 times. Local statistics can be availed at some point down the road. And of course, from an institutional point of view, we need to take a precautionary approach in introducing use of agrochemicals and transgenics or GMOs because they use more of these toxic chemicals, which of course affect our nutrition. And those like BT cotton, which is said to be using less pesticides and herbicides, it's actually itself a factory that produces toxic products. So you don't need to have a pesticide because the plant itself, the seeds, the leaves, the fruits, exuding from at a cellular level these toxins that are harmful to a human body and which of course affect our health directly, the immune system. And towards the end, I will share with you how there is a almost direct correlation between use of these agrochemicals and the weakened immune system, explaining the explosion of COVID-19 in the US and in those countries that are using more of these chemicals, Brazil, South Africa, that direct correlation with exposure to those kind of harmful chemicals and foods that are transgenic. There's a lot of detail harm in foods that are genetically modified. So let's hold on to that in the connection with, then there's some references down there from WHO showing that glyphosate which is an organophosphate, is a type 2A carcinogen, that it's been associated with cancers. So we are eating food that could cause cancer and other NCDs, of course, cancer is an NCD. Next slide, Harrison. Yeah, so challenges, good people, challenges. Of course, challenges are there all the time. Achieving policy coherence, sometimes we speak from both sides of the mouth. We want to protect the environment, but we are doing pollution. We want to ensure that there is healthy food, but we're using agrochemicals more and more, and we know they're toxic. Some of them are not even used in the countries where they're produced. So again, competing priorities of different sectors, not realizing that the government needs to operate from what we would call a systems thinking approach. If you want to ensure that Kenyans have the highest quality of life and health, then the different sectors must speak with one language, and the policies must not be contradictory, but they must be complementary. Quite frankly, budgetary issues, yes, political gain, lack of accountability, these are issues we struggle with all the time. And as members of the fourth estate, you can see what's happening even with resources for for COVID-19. We have some apparently, I don't want to call it genetic predisposition to stealing and being corrupt. But those are issues we must speak to government as a watchdog organization, as NCDAC. And for you as the fourth estate, we must persistently speak to authority to do the right thing and to measure up to the high levels of expectation. Next slide. Yeah, so COVID-19, the big one. Maybe I should take advantage of this opportunity to share with you that I also, many of the hats that I wear, one of them is that I'm technical advisor for what we call the African Food Sovereignty Alliance. It's 33 countries in Africa speaking one voice, trying to find out how to improve people's health, including COVID. So we've done a booklet known as Surviving COVID-19, the Forgotten Remedy. Good people, what is this forgotten remedy? You guess what it is. It is nutrition. So there is a correlation, an association. You can't say causation from an epidemiological point of view or research point of view, but there is a correlation, a very clear correlation between good nutrition and outcomes of COVID-19. Or the gingers, the garlics, the turmerics, the lemon, the zinc, the magnesium, the vitamin D. This is not just hogwash or just talk. There is scientific empirical evidence clearly showing that good nutrition improves the outcomes of COVID-19, or rather reduces the effects and the severity of COVID disease. Just to take advantage of this opportunity to educate you a bit, you can be infected with COVID-19, but you don't manifest COVID-19 disease. An infection is when we check you, we find that you have the virus. A disease is when you manifest symptoms of the virus: fever, headache, respiratory symptoms, cough, chest heaviness, and so on. So I don't want to say much more than I've said with the slides on the slide, but clearly we need to expound, expand, and create awareness among the population that what is the key symptomatic treatment for COVID-19. Tuambiane ukweli is good nutrition that enables the body to have a stronger immune system. The immune system is complex. There is the innate immune system and there is the acquired immune system. The innate immune system is largely dependent on a balanced diet, nutrition, with all the ingredients, the iron, the zinc. Zinc is very key. Perhaps in a different session, I'll explain how zinc is key, because zinc enters the cellular tissues of the respiratory system and blocks the entry of COVID-19 and thereby prevents the replication of this RNA virus. Very simple. And you need carriers to enable the zinc to enter into the cells of the respiratory system. And some of these carriers, we call them ionophores. Dr. Karekezi and some of you who are learned in the biochemistry of nutrition will understand how it works. One of them is hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. The other one is green tea. I can provide impeccable evidence of that reality. But and of course, you don't just eat zinc. If you want, of course, you can take zinc supplements, 25 to 50 milligrams OD or endlessly, basically. But more importantly, you can eat pumpkins. Pumpkin seeds in particular have a very high concentration of zinc, and zinc in particular, as I say, is naturally available in many foods, green leafy vegetables, as I said, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, avocado. I could go on and on. We may require zinc, but because I believe that there's a clear correlation between, of course, low zinc levels and vitamin D, and the susceptibility or vulnerability to COVID-19, because this is a flu virus, so it acts like other coronaviruses, but it's been aggravated. The reasons behind it is supposed to be natural mutation, but there could be other nefarious reasons. We don't want to go into that at this point in time. But suffice is to say that if we enhance, improve nutrition using locally available foods, vegetables, nuts, seeds, exercise, have enough sunshine, vitamin D from the sun. The sun triggers the production of vitamin D, D2, D3 in the liver and in the kidneys, so that these systems with food working in tandem realign the immune system to be able to not just take care of COVID-19 as an infection, but also all other infections and threats to the balance. Because disease manifests when there's a state of unease. When you create balance, you remove imbalance through nutrition. This is fundamentally important, much more than chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or pharmaceutical interventions, because those are actually derivatives of food. So, good people, I don't want to go into the issues of incomes and the effect on unemployment. That's not directly related to nutrition, so I will skip that. We are 35 minutes. Go to the next slide. Harrison, are you there? Yes, transformative media. So, good members of the media, we need you, we plead with you to partner with NCDAC to spread this good gospel that nutrition is supportive treatment or preventive treatment in the continuum of care, of the package of care for addressing issues of not just NCDs, but also the issues of COVID-19. Why is that so? Because if good nutrition reduces NCDs, and we know that NCDs or people, or those of us with NCDs are more vulnerable to COVID-19. So the sequence, the logic is that if you address nutrition, not only do you address the reduction of NCDs, but you also reduce the vulnerability or susceptibility to COVID-19. Those are rocket science. And people, it's so scaringly simple that people don't want to talk about it. That correlation between good nutrition, less NCDs, stronger immunity, health immunity, less susceptibility to COVID-19. I don't want to go into details because I'm an epidemiologist, but have you noticed where COVID-19 is hovering around Nairobi County? You've not had it in Masabit or Moyale or Nyamira or even Kwale County, where one of the first few cases were reported. What is it that people in Kwale rural areas are eating that people in Nairobi are not eating? Your guess is as good as mine. So, members of the media, we would like for you to join us in evidence-based awareness creation. We can provide you the evidence that we need to make the food safer by reducing the use of synthetic pesticides. We could do investigative exposés. Yeah, June Alan Namu is famously, I don't know whether it's famously or infamously good for that. I applaud him, I honor him, wherever he is, and many others. So we need you to partner with us, because without which we as Kenyans are collectively exposed to more disease burden, and quite frankly, we are all exposed to an existential threat, a national security threat from poisoned food, from poisoned waters, from poisoned air, from a poisoned environment, which is slowly killing us. And now with COVID-19, if we don't change course, the threat of major harm is very evident. So nutrition and media advocacy based on shared evidence to address policy concerns, creating awareness among policymakers, youth, support media, the media fraternity, farmers, consumers, and that's everyone, So we should continue to provide this education to inform, to inspire, to educate, and to transform behavioral change so that people who are living unhealthy lives can change their lives. And really, or quite frankly, we can't say we're helpless in the face of COVID-19. We are not helpless. We are capable of being in control of our health to a large extent, depending on the kind of nutrition that we deliberately, proactively, knowingly thoughtfully, mindfully consume. So we should think about everything we put into our mouths because that's a choice. Oftentimes, some people don't have a choice, but many of us have a choice what to put into our mouths and what not to put into our mouths. So, yeah, for you who are editors, you can create regular nutrition programs. You can work together. We can identify among you champions who are not only intellectually uh, aligned, but who are also passionately aligned, who have a passion, who would like to participate in spreading this good gospel that's very critical to our survival. So indeed, there's need to eat mindfully. And once we eat mindfully, we are aware of our environment, of our soil health, and the need to keep the soil regenerated, the diversity, the managos, the sagas, the tereres, these foods that our grandmothers and grandfathers ate. Now we realize, after many years of research, that actually those were the real foods. That was the real nutrition. Not to say that we can't embrace modern science, but indeed it's very clear, good people, that consuming those kind of foods that are from the farm basically to the table is better than when we add value through processing, especially processing that involves adding chemical additives. That's a big one. And I can tell you for free, that's one of my areas of passion, these agrochemicals, especially that one known as glyphosate and glyphosate based um, agrochemicals. I could talk the whole day, backed up by first class science, published in top peer reviewed journals. And I think that's where we will engage perhaps in the next session. All right. Next slide, Harrison. Yes, yes, yes. Good people, let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Hypocrites. That was 431 BC. I love this man. You know, all of us doctors, when we graduate, we swear to the Hippocratic oath. And yet, we go out there and instead of preaching food as medicine, we are only preaching pharmaceuticals. I'm not against pharmaceuticals, some are good, but to a large extent, good people, truly, truly, from the bottom of our hearts, I now know after 35 years of being all over the world and being some of the top institutions of research globally, that food indeed is medicine. And we can prove it from science. Santisana. Santisana. Next slide. Yep. There you go. So questions, thoughts? Thank you. Asante. Yeah. Buyamano. Erukamano. And many other languages that I can speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Um, you really tried to stick within the time. We really appreciate that. I know there's so much that we could go on and discuss. But let me just take a few questions. Unless Harrison, maybe from your end, you have something that you want to comment on before I proceed with the questions.
Not really as of now, Frederick.
Okay. Uh, Joe Muchangi, you just indicated that I have a question, but you didn't really put it across. So maybe would you want
Could I
to?
speak? Yeah, if you can hear me.
Yes.
My question,
Yes.
yeah, my question, Dr. is about. I read that one of the reasons people are dying from COVID is because of cytokine, I think, overkill, and one of the things they are trying to some doctors are trying to do is to reduce to lower the immunity of the body so that the body does not, so to speak, kill you. So is good good immunity sometimes bad, especially when you're infected with COVID-19? Thank you.
Daktari?
Yes, was that Mushangi?
Yeah, Joe Muchangi.
Joe Mushangi. Joe, you see, this is where little knowledge is dangerous. And what you exactly said is how many people, including many of my relatives, perceive this to be. And they are wrong. They are very, very wrong. A cytokine storm, now this can take a little while to explain, is the body's response to the presence of a foreign protein. In this case, the clones of COVID-19, when zinc has not been used and therefore it enters your cellular tissue and replicates itself using our own DNA. Then the macrophages and other soldiers, let me use those terms, recognize that there is an enemy. And when they recognize that there is an enemy and they use other methods to try and remove the enemy, and they realize it's not working, they go on what you call an overdrive. Cytokines are proteins. So these proteins are produced in an in proportion amount, which then becomes like using a machine gun or a big hammer to kill a fly. And in the process, you listen to this, in the body's good intentions to solve the problem, it creates an override of an inflammatory reaction that then, of course, causes a cytokine storm, which oftentimes is part of the death sequel of COVID-19. So it has nothing to do with, maybe I used the wrong term, boosting the immunity. If your immune system is in balance from intake of the right diets and so on, your body, this is extremely important because there are two types of it. It's the innate immune system and the acquired immune system. If these two are speaking to each other in balance, you are more likely to have less manifestations of a cytokine storm because this is only one of the actions that the complex human immune system responds to. And if you notice, this seems to be particularly so in people with NCDs. Unfortunately, 60 to 70% or more globally of the people who are succumbing to fatalities or death from COVID-19 are people with NCDs, especially the combination of metabolic syndrome, which includes hypertension, diabetes, and a systemic generalized infection that affects all the key organs, the heart, the brain, the lungs, the kidneys. And for men, I must tell you this, the testicles, the men who have exposure to this. Yeah, but this is a final stage. So I don't know whether I'm coming through. So it is incorrect to allude that if you boost your immune system or improve your immune system to be in balance, you are likely to result in a cytokine storm. A cytokine storm is a complex reaction when the body puts together all its defense systems and it realizes that it can't. Then this is what we call the last phase. It's actually almost like what the Japanese call harakiri. It's the process of killing the enemy. It kills itself. It's an overdrive. It's an abnormal reaction, and actually by consuming a healthy diet and having a balanced immune system, you reduce your chance of your body using this last ammunition, aka a cytokine storm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. Michael Otieno Odera is asking, would you kindly elaborate on the importance of lemon and ginger in managing COVID-19?
Hi, Frederick. I've projected all the
Hi,
questions.
or you have projected
Yes.
the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me do quickly the lemon one, and then I will answer. Should I answer them in the order in which they are on the slide?
Yeah, sure. I think
Just
that
answer
would be great.
the one for lemon, then you can proceed with this.
Let me do the lemon. Now, I know why lemon is being asked because just as I speak to you right now, I've actually have a glass of lemon,
Mm.
ginger, garlic, turmeric that I zip every day, all the time. And clearly, you know, I'm not stupid. Why am I doing that? Not just so that I don't get COVID-19, but it's part of what we should be taking routinely. Again, let me not use that to boost our immune system to improve our overall health. Lemon has vitamin C. Let me just be very quick about this. Lemon, lime, they have a lemon C, but there are other foods also that have high vitamin C, and vitamin C has a direct correlation with the improvement of reducing all NCDs. Listen to this, all NCDs without exception, because it's one of those the vitamins that your body requires to be able to unleash the normal functioning of almost all your enzymatic reactions, from reducing cancer, reducing blood pressure, reducing diabetes, reducing arthritis, reducing mental conditions, reducing the whole gamut of NCDs. The other was it ginger or garlic? I think it was ginger. Ginger is an immune modulator. It's a tuber. It is grown from the soil. It has a different role. It's an immune modulator. I don't know. In the complex system of how the immune system works, ginger modulates, creates a balance so that your immune system doesn't do a cytokine storm. You see now why it comes in? Ginger, let me put it in simple language. Ginger is one of those things you consume that reduces your risk of releasing a cytokine storm. Part of the regulation, immune modulation and balance, so that your body recognizes that there's no need to release a machine gun to kill an insect or to use a big hammer, as it were. So, but the truth is, from a nutritional point of view, you don't want to take this in isolation because you need all these nutritional ingredients working like a symphony. I don't know how I can explain this. When there's good music coming out, you need bits and bits of the lemon, the lime, the ginger, the garlic, the zinc. This is how nature works, good people. So a bit of those on an ongoing basis. Did I answer the question of Bwana Otieno, was it? Ochen? Now, can I proceed to the questions as itemized by the bullets? Is it possible to differentiate between organic and inorganic foods when buying at the market? Quite frankly, by looking, you can't tell. But if you go, for example, right now to Carrefour, there is a corner where they've labeled organic foods, and those which are not organic, they're not actually inorganic, they are non-organic. Inorganic means completely something different in biochemistry. They are either organic or not organic. Let me explain the difference. The difference is in what ingredients are in the food other than what's supposed to be in the food. Foods that are grown normally in the market and so on, that grow in the village, like Kenyan chicken, are grown without fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers, and agrochemicals. So you cannot know this, my good media colleagues, by just looking, unless you're in the market or a supermarket where the foods are labeled. This is extremely important. And the label, which is usually a label of certification, yeah, that is approved by KEBO. In Kenya, we have what we call Kilimuhai. That certification label means that the food is grown without agrochemicals, it's not sprayed with these agrochemicals, the soils are healthy, and that the people who grew this food respected the farmers, treated them fairly. They ensured that the whole value system up to the market is fair, and the food that is produced is not just without chemicals or these synthetic chemicals. That's what people think organic is. We need to look for a new label, but they are grown in a manner that is agroecologically friendly for the environment, for the birds, for the bees, for the butterflies. It's grown in a diverse system where there is managa, sagu, terere. It also does not release toxic effluents from the farming system like pesticides, which then goes on to kill the animal, the fauna, the birds, the bees, the waterways, contaminates those. So in the market, the simple answer is you can't tell unless there's a label. So how do you know? You need good people to make or find a relationship with who produces your food. Where does your food come from? It's known as traceability. In countries like the US, now they're trying, US is a bad example, you're full of GMOs, which is another level because there's organic, there's conventional, and there's GMO. Of course, the worst of this is GMO. So you want to do organic, which really is more or less kienyeji, grown with natural composting, more or less the way the grandfather used to grow food. But now, unfortunately, quite frankly, it's challenging because we get this food, sewage produced, you don't know. So at the market level, I want to say frankly, by looking, you can't tell unless you go to those supermarkets where they have labeled that it's food organic. And of course, you will say it's kind of expensive. Yes, what do you expect? Premium comes at a cost. And that's what we're trying to address, to try and demystify, have more people grow these healthier foods, not just for us to be able to be healthy and reduce NCDs and COVID-19, but also for the environment, for the farmer, that mother in the village making a living, he gets a fair price for it. So organic is bigger than just a label. It embraces the alternative food system. Listen to this, the alternative food system where we grow food naturally without inputting agrochemicals that are usually toxic, and you consume them. And of course, one of them is glyphosate. Glyphosate, in case you didn't know, Roundup, weed killer, it is actually a synthetic amino acid. Did you know that? Glyphosate is a synthetic amino acid known as glycine, but it's N-phosphonamethylglycine. That molecule, we need a session for it, is actually, in some people refer to it as the evil molecule, is a masterpiece of disaster. And you good people of the media have no idea how horrendous and disastrous this particular agrochemical is. It is the elephant in the house. I could do a week on explaining, but let's just leave it. The answering the question, difference is you can't tell by looking. It has been labeled. There's need to know who your producer is, and we encourage to buy from the open market rather than the supermarkets. Know your clients, know your customer, know your farmer, know your producer. How do we identify foods that were naturally grown from the market? Explain more about MOGs. I think some people probably meant GMOs. Yeah, you see now. What did you mean by emojis? I'm not familiar with that acronym. I want to believe it's GMOs. And if it is, I've already explained the difference between foods grown with Harlem production using no chemical seeds that were transferred and handed over from generation to generation. They're not hybrids. So organic uses Harlem seeds, original seeds that were transferred or handed over from generation to generation. Hybrid seeds are a mixing of different types of seeds to achieve a certain desired trait. Most of the seeds we eat right now in maize and so on are hybrid seeds. And they're okay. They're not toxic. They're not modified in the lab. But GMOs, this is evil. This is evil to the core. Why is it evil? Because it's a deliberate, patent-oriented manipulation in the lab of seeds to produce a certain desired trait at the cost of safety, at the cost of species dilution, and of course at the cost of patenting that seed. It belongs to you because it's actually designed to be owned by patent holders. It is, in my view, the peak of selfishness and evil. It has nothing to do with food security. I can give you evidence. We've been told that the food cannot survive with GMOs. That's a big lie. The world does not need GMOs to continue. As a matter of fact, GMOs are the reason why the current food system is broken. You want to know the evidence? Look at who's having the highest levels of COVID-19. The largest country consuming GMOs is the US. Highest cases of COVID-19, the US. Second largest country having cases of GMO of COVID-19. Guess what? Brazil. Brazil is the second leading country in the production and consumption of GMOs. What else is happening in Brazil? They have the highest rate in the world of COVID-19, second only to the USA. And I could go on. In Africa here, South Africa is the only country which has been unwise enough to allow their maize to become GMO. Right now, if I'm not wrong, we have the highest case of deaths, infections from COVID-19. Is that just correlation or a spurious relationship? That's another thing I'd like us to continue to discuss. And these are details, good people of the media. You need to help us tell the wananchis. We do not need GMOs. GMOs are toxic seeds. They can only do harm. And we have impeccable evidence we can share. We do not need GMOs for food security. Fortunately, in Kenya right now, we've introduced BT cotton, which is a GMO. We've been lied to that it's only for producing cotton. Big lie. Cottonseed oil enters the food chain. Cotton seed cake enters the cattle eat it. Then the cattle's milk and meat, the eggs, the chicken, they enter into a system. What do GMOs cause? They cause allergies, They are mutagenic. They cause mutagenesis. They are neurotoxic. They interfere with fertility. They are endocrine disruptors. They interfere with your hormones and how they work. And most importantly, they ravage the immune system, good people, and make us more vulnerable to COVID-19. An imbalanced immune system is more likely to fire cytokines because it's challenged. So when it perceives an enemy, instead of reacting normally, it behaves abnormally. In case you know who I'm referring to. So let's not allow ourselves to go into the murky areas. Stick with organic, and oftentimes you have organic by default, which is kienyeji, the managu, the sagas, the tereres. Those foods basically good people that are not processed, that our grandparents ate, and they lived to some of them to over 100 years, very healthy lives. Those days there was no diabetes, quite frankly. There was hardly any blood pressure, there was hardly any cancers. And during my lifetime, my working experience as a doctor for the last 30 years, I have seen these NCDs explode locally. Of course, I went to train in the US at Johns Hopkins and Harvard. So I know, I've seen. When I was in the US doing my postgraduate in the late 80s, early 90s, there was hardly, even in the US, there was hardly any NCDs. They were way down. But now, guess what? Together with heart diseases and diabetes, they're up there. That's the top 3 causes of death. 1 in every 2 Americans is either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And here in this country now, we're seeing rising cases of diabetes. And they correlate with more processed food, more junk food, and so on. Anyway, so the next question, I could go on and on. The study elaborated on the importance of ginger and lemon. I've explained. On the issue of eating well for good immunity, what can you say about people eating lots of ginger and lemons? Eat as much ginger and lemon as you can. There is no overdose of ginger. There's no, but remember, it is the ingredients in this. Something you've forgotten. If you really want to intervene against viral diseases, it's not ginger. Ginger is an immune modulator. The one that you need to consume more or include is garlic. Garlic is an antiviral agent and an immune modulator. It's also an antibiotic. Ginger is an immune modulator, good for GIC and so on, and also is an antiemetic. Pregnant women know this. When you get pregnant, you have no appetite, take ginger. It takes away nausea and vomiting. Lemons are loaded with fiber. They're loaded with vitamin C, but also lime, other fruits, and a lot of vitamin C. Where else can you find vitamin C, good people? Not just lemons and lime. Guess what? Baobab, moringa, high levels of vitamin C, guavas, loquats, other local fruits. Just generally our fruits are vitamin C. Don't just eat lemons and ginger, but also these other range of fruits. They have pretty much of these. So if you really want a combo, and I think I know why this good friend or colleague has asked this question. If you want a combo that you drink on a regular basis, garlic, ginger, lemon, or lime. Now listen to this. You missed honey. Honey has antiviral, antibiotic, immune modulating effects, and honey comes from bees, depending on where these bees were, of course, harvested from. And if you're older, like some of us, take a bit of turmeric, is an anti-inflammatory. Combine this concoction, zip it. Basically, rehydrate your system on a daily basis. Because when you're dehydrated, we have less fluids, you're more likely to create malfunction of your immune system. So let's not just do ginger and lemons. Let's do the whole gamut. And what does it do? They combine together to stabilize your immunity alongside other foods. Of course, you should eat your carbohydrates, your proteins, your mineral intake. Nobody asked me about, okay, here it is. What the benefit of moringa? I didn't see this, I already answered that. Moringa is amazingly powerful. It's a superfood. It's got high levels of vitamin D. It has an immune modulation effect. It can reduce your blood pressure for real. It can reduce sugar, create balance, and generally it cleanses. It's a powerful antioxidant. I don't know how to explain this. So because of that, it takes away toxins from the body and allows the body to refunction properly. Those of you who take a bit of kinywaji, please do avocado. Avocado has got a powerful protein known as glutathione. Glutathione cleanses your liver and allows you to detox, especially hangover. Those of you who take a bit of kinywaji, extremely powerful. Also good for anti-COVID, because if your liver is cleansed, is turbocharged, it's working properly, it's remove the toxins and allow your body to work properly. Okay, if you could please share the data indicating the direction related to Michelle COVID-19 infection, Nairobi County, among others, similarly minimal toxic compounds in the food. Yeah, this particular bit, I'm trained in epidemiology, so I understand disease distribution determinants. That man you see on TV sometimes in CNN, Dr. Fauci Anthony, was my teacher 30 or so years ago. So I'm willing to share this, of course, in collaboration with our team from NCDAC, Dr. Karekezi. I know you are on board. So this is a technical bit. The issues of what you call positivity, that is the number of those found positive from the sample collected. And right now they're doing things the wrong way, quite frankly. We've spoken to the ministry. We've advised them before they were not reporting positivity. I can tell you for free that it's the NCDAC pressure that finally made them bring in this fact of, well, I won't mention names, but we advised them. And now they are, when they present the data on a daily basis, they indicate positivity. That is, of those people who are tested, how many turn positive. And the lower the positivity, it means that the infection rates are either plateauing or about to decrease. But we have issues with that approach because we don't know how the sample, the test was selected, and they have refused to answer this question. You cannot provide information that you generalize based on a purposive sample or a sample that was spuriously selected. We have no idea. There's a deep dark corner. We will need to find out from how do they pick who they test. There are, of course, also issues of the accuracy of the tests. There's what we call specificity and sensitivity. The tests they're using right now are quite sensitive, which means they're picking some false positives. This is a fact. We can discuss this further when we are discussing the issue of the epidemiology and the trends. And the curve they're talking about, quite frankly, I don't know how that curve looks like and what informs the curve. But that's another issue for another day. Let's stick to nutrition. Comment on cassava, millet, sorghum via this maize flour. Good people, our foods were foods that were grown around our neighborhood. If you grew up in the lake region, you ate omena, you ate fulu, you ate ngege, you ate the fish, it has omega-3, it has those nutrients. But now, guess what? In the factories and so on, the effluent is going to the river, mercury, heavy metals, aluminium, arsenic, and all these pollutants are destroying the health of some of those products we ate. And if you grew up in Central, you probably ate more Irish potatoes. That's still fine. It's usually, again, in terms of nutrition, try and eat as much local as you can. Dr. elaborate on child stunting, child wasting. Okay, I mean, those are easy. I mean, basically, stunting, some of us think that we are probably stunted. Stunting has to do with height. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying all short people are stunted, but quite a number of us in this country growing up in the days we grew, we have an element of stunting. Yeah, you're because of the nutritional exposure. Children by age, a child who's stunted has a lower, is shorter than a child who's not stunted because of certain nutrition deficiencies. Wasting has to do with, given your height, yeah, and your weight, you basically have less. You've a deficiency of muscle tissue because of less protein, so you're wasted. And overweight, of course, you are above the weight of your average peers. And as I said earlier, this is the key form of malnutrition. Good people of the media, no longer so much worry about stunting and wasting. The biggest challenge, and it's not only for children, we are now seeing children who are 8 years, 9 years having pre-diabetes or diabetes because the weight exploded. And because of why has this happened? Again, nutrition. We are feeding our children with highly processed foods, the pizzas, the bread, the mandazis, most of these wheat products. Yeah, all those sweet things. chapatis and so on. Terrible foods, I mean, quite frankly, as opposed to eating wheat or eating rice or eating millet or finger millet. Somebody asked about cassava. Very good. Mix it with ugali. You don't have to eat ugali all the time. Eat millet, the brown millet, finger millet, millet itself, cassava. In combination, you get nutrients that are deficient in some of these foods by combining. And our grandmothers knew this. We never ate the same food at the time. It was mixed with the carbohydrates, the vegetables, and so on. I'm not sure. I think I've taken care, addressed that issue. I could go on into BMI, based on metabolic index, and so on. Those are details. In this first session, I would rather we don't go into those details. What type of food is suitable for a baby who is undergoing weaning? Hey, this is a big one. I mean, it's a combination of those. My wife probably speak to this more than I would, but you really, the key message here, good people, is just make sure that the child has foods that are, first of all, safe. This is for me very important. The issue of safety. Wean your child off on, as much as possible, clean, safe, healthy, organic food. Why? Because brain development, listen to this, good people. If you start exposing your child to glyphosate and so on, you are going to significantly negatively impact the diminished development of the brain of your child. And when you move this way, evidence has shown that it doesn't take a very long time to clean up all these toxins, especially that one known as glyphosate, and of course the other toxins. Yeah, so 11 minutes past 11, somebody has said, great session, the power of pumpkin seeds. Yes, especially for men, because zinc is also, as you may know, is part of that architecture that men unleash down there. So actually men need more zinc. This partially explains why more men are dying from COVID-19, because they are more likely to have lower zinc levels. Because when they discharge the ejaculum, men, are you listening? A lot of zinc goes out. So and as a result, men are more likely to have a deficiency of zinc. And it's in pumpkin seeds. Yeah, 2-3 days in a week, I make sure I have my pumpkin seeds. Yeah, sesame seeds, of course. You can also find zinc in cheese, in organic cheese, raw cheese, very good. And also sunshine. Remember, vitamin D. Many of us are walking around. I would advise all of you here, just go and have a check of your vitamin D levels. And if they are below, please boost them either by taking supplements or by staying in the sun for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour during the midday sun. People get this wrong. It's not the evening or morning sun. It's the midday sun. The sun between like 11:30 up to 3 o'clock. Because that's the one which triggers your cellular tissue or your skin to produce vitamin D2. Then D2 through the blood system goes on to the liver and converts to D3, which is part of what does your immune modulation. And vitamin D, listen to this, if you have a deficiency of it, you block the triggering of more than 2,000 enzymatic pathways. So do not take a lower level of vitamin D. And I will shock you. Probably 50%, 30 to 50% of you listening to me have low vitamin D levels. Go check. It also has an effect on diabetes. Somebody's typing on diabetes. Basically, an immune imbalance. And like one of my colleagues, Dr. Zach Bush, we had a recent interview. He said clearly, he has never seen where anybody dies from a deficiency of a drug or from a deficiency of a chemotherapy in case of cancer, or from a deficiency of lack of radiotherapy. And he has never seen a scenario where a poison converts into being an unpoison. Very deep, very philosophical, very thought-provoking. Now, listen to this, and this is really amazing. The newest finding is that diabetes, blood pressure, so not in all cases, some cases are complicated, they require some therapy, but to a large extent, most of us here in Kenya, we can actually reverse diabetes. And Dr. Catherine Karekezi, Dr. Our leading endocrinologist in the country, Dr. Ivan Jenga, can tell you that even in our own practice, even in our own research here in Kenya, we have proved that we can reverse some cases of diabetes type 2 on diet and nutrition alone. Hallelujah. This is the big one. Balanced diet for diabetes, that's a session in itself. I can't even attempt to say it here. But whatever works for diabetes type 2, let me give you a little secret. Anything that works for diabetes type 2, this is actually the mother of all NCDs. Because what is diabetes type 2? For lack of a better word, it's a metabolic syndrome. It's an imbalance of all those nutrients, of enzymes not working properly, which manifests in the inability of your body to be sensitive to insulin, of course, which is produced by the beta 2 cells in the pancreas, the islets of Langerhans. I don't want to go into details. I sometimes teach. So that's really an area that I would like us to have a session if you guys are interested. And we do a session and go through. And we have people we know whose diabetes we've managed or reverse their diabetes only on diet. Yeah. Does Kenya NCD department have a nutrition policy? Does it link to the current intervention of COVID-19? Yes, there is, not just for NCD Kenya, but the Ministry of Health. I'll be a part of it. We are in the technical working groups of nutrition, both in the Ministry of Health and in the Ministry of Agriculture. And there's been a revision of those of that policy to accommodate COVID-19 and its response. So yes. I'm conscious about time, but you good people of media, this is the first session, so like an appetizer, like the tip of the iceberg. If you're keen and if you're interested, and if I were you, I would. Let's find time. Let's make it a series. Pick one of these. This is an overview of the role of nutrition. It's very central, and we need you. We need you to simplify, to explain in a layman's language so that people know, because empowerment results in appropriate behavioral change that will save lives, improve health, and actually reduce our cost of disease burden. And some of the money that we're using now to treat these conditions can be saved and used for other more productive socio-economic activities in the overall agenda of Vision 2030. I don't want to talk about the big four because I'm not sure where the big four is going right now. But generally, within the context of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we as a people can pull together, and we need you, the members of the Fourth Estate, to do your bit to help us pass on these messages so that we can inform, we can educate, and we can inspire. Asante sana.
Asante sana, Daktari. Thank you so much. The response to those questions were really awesome. We have a group, WhatsApp group, and some of us are sending their messages here. I just want to read one from John Navula. John Navula says we should give Dr. Peter or Mokaya more publicity in the media so that he can be the voice of reason amid COVID-19. I can't agree more. I mean, the session has been very informative, and I believe most of us, even from the comments and questions, we've been able to learn a lot. I want to take this opportunity to give Harrison a chance to make a comment and maybe invite Dr. Karekezi to also make a comment.
Thank you. I think I'll mute my mic.
Thank you, Frederick. Maybe from me, I'll just maybe say thank you to Dr. Mokaya for the great presentation. Maybe just mention a comment from one of the people who were attending what just said. that very informative session. We always think of medicine and forget the food, and forget that food is our medicine. And I know Dr. Mokaya has left us with a comment that we will always remember, that is, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine thy food. I won't have much to say, just to welcome Dr. Karekezi to give a few remarks and then probably close for us. And also, before Dr. Karekezi comes in, I want to appreciate, just to mention that we have teams from the media, we have representation from NCD Alliance of Kenya, that is the staff present here, from Gideon to Catherine Munaji to Nancy, they're present and listening. And also we have representation from members of NCD Alliance. I think we've been joined by some of the people living with NCDs who have been able to join and listen to this presentation. Thank you and welcome so much, Dr. Catherine Karekezi.
Okay, thank you, Harrison, and thank you, Fred. And I'd just like to say on behalf of NCD Alliance, I know Dr. Mokaya is one of us, but I'd just like to thank him for making time and even for his presentation, which has elicited a lot of response. And I believe everybody is saying that we need another session, but I believe, yes, definitely nutrition is big. Nutrition is often neglected, but nutrition, as Dr. Mokaya has said, is the one which is going to make a difference to our lives, a difference in the spectrum, a difference even as we tackle COVID-19. So I'd just like to say thank you very much, Dr. Mokaya. It's always refreshing to listen to your talks. You always learn something new. And yes, you've left the door open for additional forums, and especially the topic of the toxic soil and the toxic food that we are consuming. I think even as we speak with the media, people need to start asking themselves, why is there this big increase in NCDs? What is the common factor? There must be a common denominator, which is fueling the rise in NCDs, either the environment or it is the food that we eat. So obviously, it means that we'll need to organize additional sessions. I believe the media will be more than willing to attend. And I just like to say thank you very much to everyone for joining us today. Continue to see how best to continue this engagement and continue to bring additional professionals to at least create awareness and to sensitize you on important areas. But I hope all of you have taken something away from today's session that you can apply to your lives, that you can share with your families. And really the other aspect of this sensitization is for you to actually make changes to your own lives and to make changes to your family's lives and to your friends, so that everyone can lead healthier lives, protecting themselves from NCDs. If you already have an NCD, you can learn how better to manage so that you can improve the quality of your life. And even as we have mentioned today, in terms of protecting yourself from COVID-19, how can you improve or balance your immune system? Because that is really your first line of defense. How can you improve your immune system in order to prevent yourself from maybe getting COVID-19? And even if you do get COVID-19, to help your body fight the infection. So thank you very much, Dr. Mokaya, and thank you to all our media attending our sessions. I think today we didn't lose anybody on the forum. We're actually now at 49. And we look forward to seeing you next week when we have another forum and to continue engaging with you. And as Dr. Mokaya says, we're really counting on you to take this message out to the community so that people can learn how to help themselves. So thank you very much, and we look forward to talking with you next week.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karekezi, for your comments. Before we sign out for this meeting, I just want to remind everyone that our next session will be on 28th of August, and we will be talking about the role of media in NCD prevention. I'll be taking lead in this presentation, but I would like to mention that along the week, I will be engaging most of us in just coming up with comments or short presentation for the same. because clearly this is where the core of the training that we are doing really lies, the role of the media in NCD prevention. So it feels that each one of us has a contribution towards that. So next week's session is going to be very interactive, and each one of us will try and see how best they can get an opportunity to just make some remarks or two. We don't want to put it at a place where we have one person just making a presentation, because most of us are in media, and I think it just makes sense if each one of us can contribute. So you can think through that theme that we'll be tackling next week as you put just short notes of what you really think as media can take up as a role in NCD prevention. And Dr. Peter has also reiterated the same in the role that the media can really play in helping people with information that is so rich for them to prevent, some of these NCDs. So as you take note of that, after the session on role of media and in NCD prevention, we will also have our next presentation, this time on cancer, on 4th of September. So you realize now moving forward, most of our sessions are happening on Fridays. So Christine Sitati will be taking us through cancer, and then after cancer, epilepsy will follow in the following week. So take note of this. Let's keep the conversation going through our social media platforms, NCD Alliance. I will post those handles again so that you can just be in touch with what will be happening also on our walls. If I've seen already guys requesting for booking for Dr. Peter for some interviews, so I will get in touch with Daktari as well as Harrison. We will plan in a way that everyone that wants to do an interview, whether print or radio or TV, it's done in a way that the message is more or less the same, and it has the same quality that would really want also the public to get. So thank you so much, guys. Again, if there are any comments or something that you'll need to inquire, you can always inbox me directly. The message that is always for all of us, I will always share on our page, and I want to encourage all of us to always take on the survey, the monkey survey, because it really helps us to shape the next conversation that we'll always have. So I have just posted it on the group, and I want to believe most of us will also get an opportunity to just send in feedback. Sometimes we are more than 40 people, but we realize on our back end the people that have been able to share a feedback are either half of that number or sometimes even less. So we'll really appreciate your feedback on today's session and the sessions that are to come. So thank you so much. I don't have much to add. I want to pray that you'll have a wonderful weekend ahead as we prepare for our next session next week. Please make some short notes that when you get that opportunity to share during that session, will also be informative to the rest of us. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, media colleagues. Let's keep in touch. Let's do what we must do. Asante sana. Thank you. Thank you all.